Welcome to Exponential Finance, where we connect AI, cryptocurrencies, and markets to help you understand what matters and how to act each week. Today, we present a very interesting analysis by the DCA podcast, and it's timely, right? Because let's be honest, the crypto market feels, well, bleak. Sentiment is just at rock bottom, but what if that's precisely the point? Let's dive in and ask the big question. Are we at the darkest point just before a new dawn?
All right, first things first, let's set the stage here. If you just look at the surface, by almost every metric, the picture is not good. It's overwhelmingly negative, and you can totally see why investors are spooked.
So check this out. According to Google Trends, retail interest, that's everyday people like you and me, has just completely fallen off a cliff. We're talking the lowest levels of search activity in 5 years. The average person has totally checked out.
And this isn't just a gut feeling. The actual data on consumer sentiment, it looks eerily similar to the 2008 financial crisis. Think about that. People are just done. They're fearful. It's a huge indicator that shows just how deep the pessimism runs right now.
So what's this 70%? Well, that's the percentage of the top 50 altcoins that are down more than 60% from their all-time highs. 60%. That is just a brutal, brutal landscape for most investors. If you were holding anything besides maybe just Bitcoin, the pain has been very, very real.
Okay, so yeah, all of this widespread panic and just apathy, it paints a pretty grim picture. But here's where it gets interesting. The core idea from the DCA podcast's analysis completely flips this narrative on its head.
They're asking a powerful question. What if this extreme fear is actually a buy signal? What if this moment of total surrender, this capitulation, isn't the end, but a new beginning? If you look back at history, the moments of maximum pessimism have almost always been the moments of maximum opportunity.
And this quote from Marty just nails that contrarian view. Capitulation is my buy signal. The logic is so simple but so powerful. When everyone who is ever going to sell in a panic has sold, who's left to push the price down? The market is basically de-risked. At that point, there's really only one way to go. And that's up.
Okay, so if retail investors are running for the exits, that begs the question, who's buying? Who is actually stepping into this fear? Well, it turns out, while the crowd is leaving, a very, very different kind of player is quietly entering the scene.
So there's this perception out there, right? You look at the on-chain data, which is basically the public ledger of every transaction, and it looks like the original Bitcoin whales are cashing out. Huge movements from old wallets. It looks like they're dumping everything. But a deeper dive from analysts like Willy Woo suggests something way more strategic is actually going on.
See, these whales aren't necessarily selling. They're moving their coins to something called SegWit addresses. Think of that as a security upgrade, future-proofing their assets against things like quantum computing. It's a really sophisticated, long-term play that the market just completely misreads as a bearish sell signal. They're not panicking, they're preparing.
All right, now let's zoom out. Let's pull back from the crypto-specific data for a second and look at the bigger economic picture. Because the global environment is also showing signs of a major shift, one that could be incredibly good for assets like Bitcoin.
You got a whole recipe for a rally brewing here. There's talk of more stimulus checks, the Fed is signaling they're going to stop tightening, rate cuts are expected, China is printing massive amounts of money, the US government is reopening and releasing liquidity. Any one of these things is a big deal, but all of them together? That's a massive wave of cash that's about to hit the financial system. And historically, that kind of liquidity has been absolute rocket fuel for crypto.
And here's something else. While the big names, the broader market, have been totally flat, there are these little pockets of incredible strength starting to emerge. And they might just be pointing to where all the new energy and the next big stories are going to come from. Just take a look at Zcash, a privacy-focused coin. The price action here is just wild. We're talking a 500% return in just a couple of months. Now that's not random. This kind of explosive move is a direct response to a very real and growing global concern. So what's driving this? Well, people are getting worried. They're hearing about central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. They're seeing new surveillance laws in Europe to track transactions. It feels like the default is becoming guilty until proven innocent. So, this desire for financial privacy and control, it's becoming a huge investment idea. People are looking for ways to protect themselves, and it feels like this trend is really just getting started.
Okay, so let's tie all of this together now. The analysis from the DCA podcast is really building a layered case here. And the main point is that what we're all seeing on the surface, that's not the whole story. Not even close.
So you have this surface level fear, right?
But underneath, that fear itself is a classic buy signal. Then you see the smart money, the whales. They're not abandoning ship. They're just repositioning for the long haul. You zoom out, and there's a flood of global liquidity on the horizon. And finally, you have these powerful new narratives, like privacy, that are already taking off. When you connect those dots, the story totally changes. It's not about despair anymore. It's about a strategic preparation for the next big cycle. The chess pieces are moving, even if the scoreboard hasn't changed yet.
So it leaves us with this big question. Is the market actually dying, or is it just cleaning house before the next major expansion? We've walked through the case that this darkness might just be a necessary step for a much brighter future. To learn more and stay up to date with the latest in the world of Bitcoin, visit exponentialtom.com and subscribe to the channel.